Okay, so natural law theory is going to begin with this very fundamental metaphysical assumption that nature, the universe, reality itself, it's rationally ordered, it's purposeful, and it's comprehensible. We can make sense of the way that the world we exist in works. We can make sense of ourselves and the way that we work. And we can use that knowledge that we acquire about the way things work in order to figure out how to act. How should we live? And the natural law theorist is going to point to an ethical principle that's based on this fundamental metaphysical assumption, and that is this: how nature is how nature should be. Okay, now that's going to momentarily seemingly confound our understanding of the is-ought gap. Remember, we've been talking about the is-ought gap as this dynamic that exists between the set of circumstances that we find ourselves in and the knowledge that we have about these circumstances and our ideas about the way that things should be. And based on that dynamic, we start to make claims about, well, what actions should we be taking in order to get us to where we want to go, in order to make things the way that they ought to be. And this natural law ethical principle seems to be sort of circular at first glance, right? How nature is how nature should be. What is what should be. And the natural law theorist is not thinking about this principle in that way. They're not thinking in the way that we would when we commit what's called the naturalistic fallacy, where somebody says something like, people lie, they've always lied, they'll always lie. That's just the way it is. Okay, so the natural law theorist is not sort of doing that shrug of the shoulders claim of indifference to the way that things are. Instead, what the natural law theorist is doing is saying this: there is a way that things are at any given moment we find ourselves in. There is some set of circumstances that we find ourselves in. And if we determine, based on our knowledge of how things seem to work naturally, if we can determine that the way that things are is out of alignment with the way that nature actually is, the way that things are involves some sort of damage or compromise of the natural order of things, then the natural law theorist is going to say, well, we need to do whatever we have to do to get things back into that natural, rationally ordered, purposeful order. And we need to take whatever actions are necessary in order to create that set of circumstances. So they're not saying that we need to accept everything as it is. They're saying that we need to work off the assumption that nature has its own rational order and purpose, and we need to respect that. We need to live in alignment with that. And when we get out of alignment with that order, with that purpose, we need to take action to get ourselves back into alignment with the natural order of things. Okay, so natural law theory, when it makes its moral claims, the reasons are going to be based on a reverence for eternal law. And what they mean by eternal law is something akin to what the Greeks called the logos. There is, at the fundamental reality, a sort of divine cosmic mind, a divine cosmic rationality that holds everything in our world together. It provides the underlying rational order for everything that exists. And what the natural law theorist is going to say is that we have to respect that. That's sort of like an ultimate reality, the natural law theorist is going to say. And the way that we respect that eternal law is we adhere to the natural laws that we can observe in the world around us, okay? So natural law theory is another objectivist theory. It's not a relativist theory like subjectivism, emotivism, or cultural relativism. This is an objective theory where the standards for right and wrong exist independently of people, individual people and groups of people. And like Kantianism, it's a non-consequentialist ethic. In other words, it doesn't evaluate the moral quality of our actions based on the consequences. More like Kantianism, it's going to be absolute in what kinds of actions are always required or never permitted.